Hi guys, my name is Sandra and today we're going to do a draw and paint session and we're going to look at Cubism as a style in which we can create a piece of artwork. We've got two portraits here, line drawings, one of the Queen, one of Donald Trump. You can take anything, trace off anything from a magazine. You just need to make sure it is A4 in size and quite large. These are some images, some Cubist images, where we are taking our influence from. And we're looking to create something similar. Now I am going to be doing and using watercolour pencils. You can choose however you want to fill this in, so you could use acrylic paints, oil pastels, soft pastels, anything really which you have to hand at home. It doesn't have to be watercolour pencils. So if we take one of these images, and I'm going to take Donald Trump, and we're just going to try and create some geometric shapes with our ruler. It's the face that we need to concentrate on more than anything. So look at splitting up the mouth, maybe putting a line through the eyes, the eyebrows. There is no right or wrong. Split that here. Let's put a vertical line down. So although you want quite a few shapes, don't cut them too small because it may look a little bit more abstract than you want it to. When you feel that that's right, and rub out any pencil marks that you don't like, then what you need to do is get yourself a permanent marker and just go over your pencil marks with a permanent marker. And final one here. And I think that one will be enough. Then what we need to do is we need to cut this out. So we cut out our shapes. Now, if we look at Picasso's Cubism, the idea really of this style just wait for that police car to go. The idea of this style was to do a portrait, probably a front view, and then take the same portrait as a side view, maybe a back, maybe at different angles, and kind of layer all those things one on top of the other to create almost like a three-dimensional on a 2D flat surface. This is just a different way of doing it, a different interpretation, an easy interpretation to get possibly a similar look. So then what we need is we just we need to get ourselves a plain piece of paper, and we're going to lay these down, and we may want to look at the image to understand where the eyes, etc. go, but we're going to jumble them up a little bit. So if we look at Donald Trump here, I'm going to start and place these back down. So we take some glue and we start placing things back down. Now obviously we're going to change the angles of them slightly, and I'm just randomly picking them up. Doing the features first, the face features, and what I can see. Maybe matching some shapes to create new shapes. What else do we have? We have a mouth. It doesn't matter what this looks like, because we're going to put the, if it's not glued down properly, we're going to put this back under the photocopier. If you don't have a photocopier, what we might do, or what you might do, is trace this off. Okay. Not really sure what that's part of, but it doesn't make any difference. I'm just going to put it into this centre section. I'm just going to lift that up before it dries. Okay, so now we have a very distorted face, and we're going to take our permanent marker again, and we're just now going to look at just going over the marks before it goes under the photocopier. So we can identify eyebrows and eyes, and if you've got new shapes, you will need to, like this one is the edge of the paper, you will just need to get your black marker onto the edge, just so it shows up, because that will disappear under the photocopier. You don't have to use a ruler at this stage, you can do everything freehand. Could even look at doing a self-portrait. Might be quite nice in the self-portrait if there's a group of you and you wanted a creative activity to do together. So this line here is not going to show up, so we either take our ruler or just follow this down so it becomes part of the picture. In the middle, I'm just going to highlight that a little bit. And then we have the start of our Picasso Cubist style portrait. So we're going to put this now under the photocopier so we have a flat surface in which to use our watercolours. If you didn't have that, then you could possibly get another piece of paper, hold that up to the window, and you could trace that off with your permanent marker. So this is our photocopied image. I'm just using printing paper, but if your printer does it, you might want to print out on cartridge paper so you've got something nicer to work on and it becomes a finished piece. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this printing paper. I'm going to use the water pastels or water pencils now, and then I'm going to photocopy it at the end so it becomes a flat image onto cartridge paper. So I'll show you that. So now we need to fill in. Now what I failed to do is I didn't do a black line here, so I'm just going to cap that off so it becomes a bit more of a shape. I'm just having a look. This is a vast area here which we want to have isolated colours, so I need to do something with that, so that's not quite right. And this shape here is too big, so I'm just going to do that. So I can look at the composition a little bit better. And then I think to myself, that's quite nice for us to then fill in. So move that to one side, clear the area. Now I'm just going to put some cardboard down, and that's just because I've got ridges on the table. In terms of the watercolour pencils, the reason why I'm using them is because they're clean, they're easy to work with, and they give quite a nice result. So if I just show you on a plain piece of paper, if we think about values or shade and tone, and we have a value scale, some bits of this image need to be white, some will be lighter, some will be mid, and some will be dark. So if we think about white, light, mid, and dark. Okay, and black. So we're kind of creating a value scale. So white is the white of the paper. And then the light, if we took this orange and we shaded in just a diagonal mark, like that, it's a light tone. If we pressed on as hard as we can, then this would become a mid-tone. If we pressed on as dark as we can and possibly mixed it with brown, that would get us a darker tone. And then black, don't know where that is, which is not a colour, would be the darkest of all. What's that? Ivory black. And then we have black. That is our value scale. So this is adaptable to any colour. Showing that purple, yeah. So the lighter we press on darker. Press on darker. Now you need to make sure that you don't open up the white too much, because obviously that gives us a lighter. If we went like this, then obviously that's a lighter tone than this one. So we just need to try and fill in evenly. Let's go over that with a bit of brown, or even go over it with a bit of black, just so you put in a bit more shade in, and then black. Now, watercolour pencils can be used like that, or you can just get yourself brush and some water, and you can just go over the top of the watercolour pencils to create paint. So this gives you a lot more control than using watercolours, and you can leave some of the watercolour pencils as a pencil, and then there's other areas in which you can paint over. So if I did the same with this orange, you can see that it gives me a brighter or darker value. Then here, with using the brown, that mixes together like you would mix paint, and that gives me a darker value, and so does the black. So we have a 5 value scale. So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to use this value scale. So we've got light bits, we've got mid-tones, we've got dark bits, we've got black, all within one finished piece. Now, we don't need to do the skin colour of Donald Trump. We can be as bold or as surreal as we need to be. So don't worry too much about the colours that you're putting down. You could also, so if I used pink on what potentially was the face, you could also use a little bit of purple within there on some sections, and this is going to be my lightest shade down or tone down. So tone is to get lighter, shade is to get darker. And in there, now there's some shadow around here. I've just identified that this is this, so I might press on a little bit more just to give us some interest. Then return back to the pink. Don't know what that is there. I think it's hair. So you could just class it as the skin tone, or you could change it up a little bit. So just give it a little bit of interest. So we're just mixing another colour over the top, so it's a bit more of a blended colour. And in terms of the eyebrows, I may go for what looks like a yellow ochre. eyebrow there. The hair is, I'll just put a bit of yellow ochre through. I'm going to do that as yellow ochre as well, and then get a bright yellow. And just put some bright yellow through that. Now the yellow I'm pressing on, so it becomes quite a vibrant mid-tone. So with the ochre, I was quite light with the touch, and this one, I'm just getting a bright mid-tone. You can paint and chalk, or paint and lay down your pencil as you go, or you can do it all just in one draw and then paint. Lips. Use this lips. Use this colour for lips. It's sort of cherry colour. There are lips there. Lips are just here. This also looks like the shadowing. Or I can use it as the shadowing, so I'm just going to be quite bright there. Well, I've still got some face here as well. So the face I'm keeping really on a light touch. Extend that hair down. Sockets of the eyes, I may do in a neutral grey, just to give a little bit of shadow. Okay, with the teeth white. And then I'm looking at the colours here. These are complementary colours, so purple to yellow is a complementary colour, and so I am looking at what other colours that I can use for the background. So this is my feature here, and we'll see what we've got. So we can do the complementary colours, could be red to green or orange to blue. So that might work quite well for your image. And what other colours can we use? So let's get these out. And this is the shirt. So this time I'm just going to do a mid-tone of this green just on the outside, and then I'm going to do a graded wash where it goes into nothing in the middle, again just to give me a little bit more interest. Don't know where the tie's gone. The tie has disappeared completely. If I just use the brighter green, and you can start making patterns within the image. We don't have to have it all just a solid filled in space. We can start to use pattern work. Blue. This looks like some kind of jacket. Just get some deep blue in there. Don't have to be too neat with this, so it's suitable for everybody. The blue, and I don't have a pencil sharpener, so take a different blue. Again, if you wanted to blend colour, you might kind of put a little bit of pink within that. Red. I've got a sharpened red. So even if you just do the edges of shapes, when the water goes on, it will spread quite nicely. Let's do some solid shapes here. Like this. Just put a deeper red through there for interest. So I'm really pressing on now to get a darker value. So we'll paint this and see what we've got. So we'll start with the skin tone, and it will move quite nicely. Now, because I'm just working on printing paper, you've just got to be careful that you don't put too much water down. You can see me flicking on my hand. Ideally, you need a piece of paper just to take off the excess, if need be. Just lay down, just give it a wash. One can merge into the other if that's what you want to do. If you have smudged a little bit, just get some clean water, dry brush, and just lift off, and it will and the run or the smudge will come off. Okay, so we're just doing the hair, and you can see with me pressing on how bright that colour has become. If you're going from a dark to a light or one colour to another, just give your brush a little bit of a wash, just so the colours don't become muddy. But the trick is not to have too much water on your brush. And just smooth out all of those marks that you've done by pencil. So when we come on to the green, which is just around the edge, you're just going to take the green and you're just going to come down. You're going to move your board or your piece of paper, come into nothing, move your board, take the green, come into nothing. So we have a nice graded wash. Give it a little bit of interest, and it mimics paint. So I'm gonna finish this off, so you can sort of see a finished piece, and then I'm gonna stick it under the photocopier to kind of do a final one. It could be an original piece of artwork. So you know, if you had cartridge paper instead of this printing paper, then that could be an original piece. The DIY print, if you like, under the photocopier means that you can just print off multiples and sign it and give it to anybody. So although we have black in the permanent marker, we may also want to take black and just make some edges a little bit thicker and get some of the dark tonal value within the image. If we look at the Picasso images, we can see that a lot of black is used within the images. So quite randomly, you can just put some black in here and paint over. What you can also do is with any of these, you can just dip your pencil into the water, and that instantly gives you a very, very dark mark. If you wanted something with a little bit more precision, then just dip into the water and it acts as a paint and gives you a nice thick bold line. Like that. Just finish these off. Now you can take a lot longer than I am doing. Just wanted to sort of show you the effect of what you could do. And like I say, you don't have to use watercolour pencils, but if you have any or you fancied having a go with them, they are a really nice material to use. Sometimes you might pick up the other colour if it's still wet next to it. I think that all adds to the image, but if you didn't want that, then you just obviously need to work on different parts rather than everything on the same group, which are next to each other. So I'm doing a lot more blending in the background, a lot more graded washes in the background. Just to create a little bit of interest. Quite like using that black. That black seems to anchor everything down. So I'll just put a little bit more black down before push this through the photocopier. Try not to get too bogged down with these demonstrations, but I always end up wanting it to look really good. So let's just get black. With my small brush, I think we're only working on a small area, so I'll keep with the small brush. little bit of different tones of grey in the background. You've just got to blend quite quickly, otherwise it doesn't finish off with a smooth line. So everything has to be done at pace. And finally, shall I keep with black? Keep with black on this one. Just do that, those two sides. You can use a bigger brush, if that's what you want to do, because the bigger brush will allow you to cover an area a lot quicker. Like that. So you don't get as much of a mark. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as is. You either need to hair dry that off or leave that to dry. So I'm going to hair dry that off, and then I'm going to take it to the photocopier and photocopy that for a finished piece. Perfect. And there we have it, a Picasso style, Cubist style portrait of Donald Trump.